I don't get it, and I'm confused. I'm astounded and I'm baffled. I'm going to share something with you that I saw yesterday. Here it is. Lovely article from James Coney. I hope I haven't butchered your name. It was in the Sunday Times, and James wrote a lovely article on the Joyful Life Hostile System at Home with Ed Davey and his disabled son. If you've never heard of Ed Davey or Sir Ed Davey, if I'm not wrong, he's the leader of the Lib Dems in England and or the United Kingdom, senior politician, been around the block for many, many years. I never knew he had a kid who had special needs. No idea. I've been around special needs since I was 7. I'm 53. I'm a senior lecturer of special needs. I've supported, 270 people on their MA dissertations globally. I'm a parent of a kid who's got special needs. I'm confused, I'm baffled, and I don't understand. I don't understand why more senior politicians and business leaders don't come out and say that they are parents of kids with special needs. Blows my mind, does my head in. I read this yesterday and I thought, how do I react to this? I knew that David Cameron had a son who had special needs. God rest his soul, his son passed away a few years ago. I can't quite remember the date. And I'm genuinely sorry for his loss. I can't imagine what it's like to lose a child. My daughter had a brain tumor in 2012. It wasn't good, and Ad is still having the late effects. But I'm confused. I have been around this for years. I've been a special needs teacher since I don't know. I've been a teacher since or I was a teacher in I don't know what, from about 2000, 2001, 2002, lost track of time kind of stuff. Been a special needs teacher for years. And then I've been senior lecturer for, I think, 9 years or so. This is literally what I do 24/7. Yeah. And my daughters, and we've been personally around the special needs world since 2012 as a result of our daughter. Yeah. I fail to understand why we don't know, and why more senior leaders aren't open and honest about the daily challenges that they face with their kids with special needs. We live in a Western society with inclusive values and all these other things that are supposed to be around, that we're supposed to be inclusive and open and honest and everything else. Yeah, great. We're not, and I say from my job as a lecturer, who I say I've supported over 270 people on their MA dissertations, coming up to, in the past, nearly 6 years or so. I understand that certain cultures and societies have shame, there's social stigma, and there are failures. I get it. I'm learning from my students all the time. I'm reading this stuff. I understand that that different cultures have different value systems, and in different societies that there is shame around it, there is stigma around it, there is failure around it, and there are consequences. But I don't understand why we don't hear more about Ed Davey. I don't understand why David Cameron didn't speak more about it and did something more about it. I've been in a room, I remember, I think it was just before the COVID lockdowns, and there's somebody who through social network, whatever you like to call it, and they were a very senior, and are a very senior leader in their particular industry. I've been in the room and I went up to their offices, and they were open planned offices. And I said, "How you doing? How's work?" And he went, "Yeah, work's absolutely fine." And I said, "But you look shattered." And he started telling me about what was it he was going on with his child and the impact. And I'm going, wow, like kind of like you're like getting 2, 3, 4 hours sleep, yet you're still rocking up. You've got, I mean, we must have been surrounded by a better part of 150 people or so in the offices. And I said, do people know what you're actually going through? Do people actually know how the challenges that you face on a personal basis? He said, no. And I'm like going, I'm flabbergasted. Like, why? It's because people might think, I think if memory serves me right, it's like people might think, people might separate the personal side of me from the business side of me. Uh, I, I don't get it, because to me, being open and honest about having a kid who's got special needs, having family members. My dad had something called multiple system atrophy, which wasn't pleasant at all. He ended up in double nappies at the end, fed through his stomach. Really was. We went from a fit individual to in a terrible state over a 10-year period. Absolutely devastated us. I'm living with the consequences now. I don't understand why the likes of Ed Davey are not more open and honest about the challenges that they face. Why is it? Are they? And it's not to say that Ed Davey doesn't feel this way at all. I don't understand why senior leaders are not talking about it more. The devastation on their lives, having read this article, because I pay for the Times, and I'm reading in between the lines, and I'm like going, do you know what? This really has an impact on your quality of life. This impacts on your finances. This impacts on your health. This impacts on your relationships. This impacts massively, because it does on me. And I'm very, 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 very grateful for the roof over my head, the food on the table, the fact that I can go out and I mean, I can go out. I mean, we can't go out. This is the whole point. I'm grateful for the food on the table and the roof over my head. I'm very, very grateful for that. But the devastation on my family is immense, absolutely immense. To put it in pure numbers terms, Emma, my wife, the co-founder of We Can Access, just literally just before Addie got diagnosed with a brain tumor, and I'm talking about days before that, she'd got a full-time job as, I think, the head of sustainability for all colleges in the southeast of England, or something along those lines. If I get it wrong, Emma, I'm sorry. Emma would have been on about 40 grand. This was going back, what, 12 years or so? Yeah. One of us had to take an economic hit. One of us has lost the career. I was a teacher at the time. I was a special needs teacher. Lot more flexibility in my job. I went on sick leave. Financially, we've been massively hit to the tune of, I would say, at a minimum 500 grand, and it's probably more, £500,000 in gross income as a result of our daughter having a brain tumor and the effects and late effects. That's the bottom line. That's in money terms. Other terms, not contributing to pensions. So you've got reduced pension contributions, reduced money in the system in order to contribute to the local economy. And then let's go down the social impact on us. We've been impacted socially. Our social network got completely and utterly devastated. It literally was kid who had cancer. Okay, that was great. And then you got a kid who's got special needs. Trust me, people treat you differently. People treat you very, 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 very differently. And I saw that as a kid when I was going into my mum's school, the assessment and observation year. I saw that with the devastation when I was a teacher of special needs, and time again I see this in literature, and I fail to understand why people in the global north, Western societies, whatever you like to call it, whatever labels you want to put it on, why people are not, particularly leaders, particularly business leaders and politicians, are not more open and honest about the challenges that they face. And David Cameron, we got invited as part of a group of families to go up to what's that called? 10 Downing Street for a Christmas party. I can't quite remember when it was. Might be in 2014, 2015. Pass. Can't remember what the dates were. David Cameron had a child who had special needs. I cannot imagine the challenges that they faced, but they faced some, because judging by the media, and I failed to understand why senior politicians and senior leaders are not being more open and honest about it in Western societies. They are in a position of power, in a position of privilege. Yeah, they've worked for it. Yet how they got there is irrelevant. But the point is, they aren't in the position to enable those changes, to make very, very small changes to working practices. Why aren't they doing it? And I'm not having a go at anybody. Is it because of shame? Is it stigma? Is it because they feel a failure for whatever reasons? I don't know. I know how I feel. I know that I know that I struggle every single day, and I try within my job, both from the weekend access side of things, of posting videos, posting tweets, trying to make things, trying to work on projects. I'm trying to make a change because it's helping me mentally. I know within the job, my job as a senior lecturer, I put 100% into every single one of my students, in supporting them, in enabling them on their MA dissertations, on their behavior modules, because I know, I really, really know the impact on the teachers, on the families, on society that small changes can make. Flexibility, understanding, listening, all these little things can make a change, slight changes to the environment. I understand how vitally important these small changes are. And I understand that by speaking open and honestly in a comfortable environment, and knowing full well that you've got people above you, around you, leaders, role models that are struggling as well, it makes life easier. It doesn't quite make it easier, but psychologically it makes it easier. I fail to understand why, again, and this is a call to action. It's a plain straight call to action. Any senior leaders out there, any politicians out there, anybody out there in any form of role of influence, if you're a company leader, if you run a small business, it doesn't make a blind bit of difference. If you have a family member, or if you're a sibling of a kid who's got special needs and additional issues, be open and honest about it. Because the only way we're actually going to get change is if people talk about it more. It's not for the therapy, because if we in the West, the global North, whatever you like to call it, whatever label you want to put on living in England and European societies, if we aren't open, and we're supposed to be inclusive, all of these policies are absolutely meaningless without actual action and people not feeling ashamed, the stigma, the failure. I've worked on, and I will finish on this one, more or less. I worked with David Cameron's SEN Czar for a year, working and making suggestions on a holistic approach to supporting kids with special needs. It was a literally zero cost. The changes wouldn't have cost anything. They would have been cost neutral, because the research that I did and the stuff that I did, it was costed so that any stuff that would have been implemented would have cost absolutely nothing, because it would have improved waiting time. It would have reduced waiting times. It would have improved productivity. I failed to understand why the likes and the leaders aren't looking at how to improve systems. And we're working on stuff. Trust me, I'm working on behind the scenes on how to improve systems and processes to improve efficiencies. And one way the leaders can do this is by being open and honest about the challenges that they face. because then somebody at the end of the day, one of their employees, somebody who works for them, can say, oh, it's not just me. They're also facing challenges. And when they see their boss walking in to the office looking shattered and worried, it might not be because of the business. It could be because they've had a really rough weekend or rough night, because their kid didn't sleep, because they're suffering from sleep deprivation, because they're concerned about the kids' schooling and they're having to fight the local authorities. Again, if I'm disjointed, I'm terribly sorry. But please, if you're a leader, if you're in any form of power, be open and honest about the challenges that you're facing and let people know, because the people that work for you or with you will understand, or not necessarily understand, they will have a greater appreciation and value of you, and they will respect you that much more. And that will create a far better society, a far better company, a far better organization. And trust me, the productivity will go up, because people will work more, you work together more, and you'll find solutions to all of this stuff. It's just being open and honest. If you found any of this interesting, please like, subscribe, share, put comments in. If you've found challenges, if you're a business leader, drop me a line. Let's just talk. We need to make these changes. It's economically devastating for society. It's simply not sustainable. Thanks very much for your time. Honestly, thanks very much for every one of you that listened to this. Have a lovely day. And honestly, let's go and change the world.